All right, but you guys thought that was going in a different direction. So, the last couple of weeks. The first week we talked about destroying the labels that bind us, kind of the things that people put on us. You know, it could be Mike the pastor, it could be Cameron the musician, it could be whatever it is that the labels that you are tagged with, something that you may have put on yourself or the people that put on you around you, whatever it is, how can we change that? Last week, we talked about, what did we talk about last week? Anybody? Oh, nobody even knows what we talked about. Forgiveness. Very good. I was just checking to see where everybody was. So forgiving those who hurt you. Being able to move past it. You know, it was amazing is that on Tuesday or Wednesday, I got a story from somebody that came to me and they said, you know, after I heard your service, I was at work and the person who transferred me out of the store and transferred me to another store came into my store, and I've had issues with her for the last 2.5 years. I was in a great working environment. I worked with all my friends. It was awesome. And she's like, in the last 2 years, I've been plotting what I was going to tell this woman the next time I saw her. And so when she saw her, instead of unloading, like what you always got to think about this. What can I legally say before they fire me? You know. So she was instead of unloading what she could do, she went over and gave her a hug and said, I am so glad to see you. And the lady was in utter shock. So that's what happens. But now, today we're going to dive in a little different. What about the people you have hurt? How do you start some restoration? How do we get something where it's a little different? Because guys, you know, it's very clear in the Bible what it tells us to do. You know, we're going to talk about this, and, you know, we're just going to kind of get in there. And it says, you know, and I'll dive right into it. In Matthew 5:23-24, it says, therefore, if you are offering a gift at the altar, and you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Oh, we're going to come back to that. And we're going to come back to that one. But let's get into this a little bit. Sometimes people let us down. So we go, I'm not going to go back and talk to them. Sometimes we get our feelings hurt. Sometimes people are inconsiderate. People betray us. Guess what? You have been that person to somebody else. You have been that person, because just because everybody's doing it to you, trust me, you're doing it to other people too. You know, we always think it's easier to be a victim. It really is. This person did this to me, or this person did that. Can you believe it was their fault? It was them. They did this. I can't have this. They did this. Somebody else's fault. It's often our fault. Often it lands right back on our shoulders. You know, there's things in our relationships, we end up with these potholes and we end up with these mountains that we're climbing. It's because we moved the dirt into the way. You know, we put it there. We made it to where we have issues. It's not like we go out and say, all right, I intentionally want to put this here, but we do it. The question is, what do we do when we've hurt somebody else? You know, we go, I'm going to go apologize. You know, and I will tell you right now, if you guys, anybody knows anybody who's gone through a 12-step process, there's 7 other steps before you get to that. That's step 8. There's a lot of work to be able to get to before you can go in and go dive in and go, I want to go talk to some other people. I want to go get forgiveness. You'll turn the lights up. Now, one thing is that in the Bible, Jesus comes out one time and he tells us, you know, because sometimes we don't think about what the severity of what we do. In the Bible, Jesus tells us, he goes, hey, you've heard it once said before, don't commit murder. But what I tell you is don't even hate your enemy. Don't even have hatreds. Don't even have, you know, guys, that's hard. You know how hard that is? You know how hard it is to go, I don't want to have hate towards a person. I don't want to have anger. I don't want to have anything. That's one of the hardest things there is to do. It's hard to give that up. You know, when somebody comes in and they trash our feelings or they do something we don't like, we even get angry at our kids and we get upset with them at times. We're like, what? Why'd you do that? That was like my favorite shirt. We get upset about stupid stuff. And every time you see the shirt at that point, you're going, Oh, man, that kid. We just hang on to it forever. So the lesson is just throw that shirt away because you're never, no, because you're never going to get over it. Let's dive back into Matthew 5:23-24. Therefore, if you're offering a gift at the altar and you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Now, when he says this, you guys got to understand something, is that go is a verb. He didn't say it like, yeah, let's finish what we're doing, let's hang out for a little while, then go and, get it taken care of. No, he said, stop what you're doing, put your offering to the side, and go take care of it. Do it right now. Do not let issues continue. Do not let people continue talking about it. Put whatever it is off to the side, whatever you're offering, whatever you're giving up, and go. Go take care of it. It doesn't say to sit here. There is priority in what he says. When people talk with Jesus back then, when we saw the clip in here when he goes, I'm going to go make you a fisher of men. He said, now come on, follow me. They didn't question. They didn't sit there and go, oh, well, convince me. That wasn't one of the things that he didn't come out and go, well, he's going to take care of me. How am I going to be paid? What's going to happen here? Well, all they did was like, yeah, dude, you seem cool. Let's go. I mean, they got on board and they went. There was not a whole lot of dialogue. They just went. He grabbed his hand and they walked on. So when he says to go, that means go. That means stop doing what you're doing and go take care of it. Where are the issues at? As I'm saying this right now, we're all thinking about this and going, man, I'm going to put my stuff down and walk out of here. But what issues do we have? What do we have right now? Where do we have issues at? Where do we have people that we know that we need to go ask for forgiveness? We need to go there because I will tell you right now, guys, that some of the best relationships that you have out there are ones that you need to go restore. Right now, we have relationships that we're looking at. We're going, man, I wish I was still talking to this person or that person, but we can't because there's this big hindrance. There's this big block in the way. Something that has just made it to where you can't do this. Sometimes we wonder, why is it that, I don't understand this. I don't understand why I have to go take care of this first. I think it's okay. And I really didn't get this until I became a parent of multiple children. Okay, when you have multiple kids, you can understand why you need to you can't have issues between the kids before. So, you guys know is that at our house, we have 3 children, and they vary in range. So we have a 15-year-old who automatically assumes she's like 30, and then we have a 6-year-old who thinks that she's 3, and then we have a 2-year-old who is, he's 18 months or 20, he's somewhere in there. He's in between 18 months and 2 years, and he thinks he runs the joint. So but when my 2 daughters get together, right, they love to kind of battle without it. They fight over everything. And one of the things they love to fight over is attention from us as parents. And they fight over weird stuff. I mean, it's just like we'll be sitting there on the couch, and one of them wants to come sit next to me, and all of a sudden the other one wants to be there too. And it's like they like jockey for these positions. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, please, get away from me. I need my space. I need, give me my 30s. If you're a military person, I need some room. Give me some space. And that's how I get. Well, sometimes these kids, they start fighting to get to that space. They start fighting, and they end up having these little mini wars. And maybe it's because we watch too much UFC or too much wrestling around our house or whatever. But sometimes they get into it, and they have moves that they're doing. All right, I'm going to put your arm behind your neck with your leg all wrapped, and you're going to look like a pretzel when I'm done. That's how these kids fight sometimes. And sometimes I watch and go, that's a great move. But then you back away and you go, wait a minute, you guys got to stop. And you can understand why the one will be crying, that's all wrapped up in a pretzel, please let me out. Yeah, usually it's Aubrey, she's and she's going, what's going on? And so what you have to do is you can understand when you look at that why we need them to make amendment, that they need to come together and before you can show either one of them some love. Because you look at it and go, You stop whining. You're 3 times her age. And the other one, you look at it and go, stop. You're mean, and you're pulling on your sister's hair. And, you got to get it to where, but that's how we are as people. We do the exact same thing as adults. We do. Oh, I'm going to sit right here to divide you guys, to make it to where you guys can't have it. Neither one of you guys can go get God, because I'm going to be there. And we cause issues, and we cause conflicts, and we cause problems. Can you see why God wants us to make amends? To where we can both go hand in hand and go worship together, go spend time together, go give our offering together. It is so much better when 2 go than when just 1. It is so much better when you go and you get to spend this time together and you get to go, man, I love just hanging out with you guys, and I love just being able to be there. And because I will tell you is that no matter what you do, it is so much better to do it with somebody else. I mean, there's some things that you don't want other people there. But I mean, you could go, excuse me. But I mean, you go, when you go out to eat, it sucks when you're by yourself. When you go out and you do it's not fun. You guys, we know how that is. None of us really like loneliness. But that's how we take our relationships and we turn us into lonely people sometimes. We have to change it. Don't snuggle until you apologize. You guys have heard it, right? Don't go to bed angry. You guys heard that one before? Sometimes at our house, my wife and I, we're not perfect, so we fight. And guys, I'm kind of a pushover. I'm not that way here at the church and leadership opportunities, right? I'm not a pushover here. Everybody comes, I gotta go see Pastor Mike about this, gotta talk to him about it. But at home, kind of like a pushover. My kids get their way all the time. They just roll over me. My wife gets pretty much the same thing. She just rolls over me. Yeah, whatever. I don't want to fight. Whatever. I'm done. So it would have been much better if she wasn't here today, It would have been much better because, really, sometimes she has to come to me on her hands and knees and come to get me from underneath the bed. Come here, we're not done fighting yet, sometimes that happens. Often I hide underneath the bed, that's true. No, I'm too big to get underneath my bed. Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacekeepers, for they will be called the sons of God. Now, God. So now, as we look at this, and we go, it doesn't say, it says, blessed are the peacemakers. It doesn't say peacekeepers, okay? The peacemakers. So as you read that, Matthew 5:9, blessed are the peacemakers. They will be called the sons of God. Peacemakers are not peacekeepers. Very, very clear to understand this. People who make peace are not peacekeepers, okay? That's just not how it works, okay? Peacekeepers often avoid confrontation in order to keep peace. Peacemakers embrace confrontation to make peace. So we take the confrontation when we have differences, we embrace those, and we come together and we go, look, you have your opinion, I have my opinion, and let's move forward, and we talk about it, and we get to work it out. It's not one of those things, oh, he thinks differently than I do. Well, can't be friends. Nope. Oh, I'm an independent, he's a Republican. Can't be friends. Doesn't happen. That's just not how it works. Guys, we have differences of opinions. We don't always go down the same road. We have things that are, if every time that somebody had a disagreement with you that you would like, oh, I'm never going to talk, we're done. All of a sudden, guess what? You're a very lonely person. Very lonely. Because you have to change what we do. It's not going to be one of these things is that it's going to be easy and like I said, in leadership, confrontation happens all the time. We have confrontation here all the time. We always do. We talk about different things. We have just how things go. It's just kind of how things go. How's service going to go? What are we going to do here? What are we going to do there? We have confrontation. We believe that certain things should happen certain ways. We embrace that. But when we get around our families and when we get around we take that confrontation, we hide from it. We're like, I'm out of here. I don't want confrontation. And I'm not saying that we want good things. I'm not saying that, somebody comes home and they're like, hey, let's swing some fists. Yeah, you won from that. But if it's a disagreement, we need to talk about it, figure out why we had these disagreements. And if it's something we can't get over, then we just, well, you have your opinion, and I have my opinion, but that's not the end-all, be-all. We just have to look at it and just do different things. Peacemaking points. The greatest enemy to peacemaking is pride. You want to make peace in your house? Give up that pride. Because I'll tell you that's what stops most of it. You're not willing to let your guard down. You're not willing to go, you know what, you're right. That's what my problem is. My wife, very fast. Uh-huh. It's kind of like that comedian was that you put LOL at the end of anything. It's all of a sudden, it's okay. I love you. LOL. The greatest friend to peacemaking is humility. Guys, Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes down, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but when humility comes, then comes wisdom. When your pride goes away, guess what? Guess what gets to come out? Wisdom, because we get to gain better understanding. We get to talk. We get to work through it. We get to go, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's figure out what's going on. Why do you see this? Why is it that you believe this? I mean, literally, Cameron and I a week ago had a discussion over pizza where he thought, we were talking about, really what we were talking about absolutely makes no difference. We were talking, you guys were like, oh, we're leaving right now. They're going to talk politics. But we were talking politics. But I got an understanding where he came from. But was there anger? Oh, maybe a little bit. It happens, guys. Pride. Pride. I'm not going to apologize. I didn't do anything. It's not my fault. Most relationships with ongoing struggles are because of pride. Here's the problem, is that we could be 1% wrong. We could be 1% wrong, but we will fight and fight and fight and fight and fight like we're 100% right. And we refuse to go in and apologize. We refuse to walk in and go, you know what? It's my fault. I did this. Even if it's only 1%. If you're 1% wrong, then go in and apologize for that 1%. Go in and make up for that. Be like, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person. Humility. Love the person more than being right. Love the person more than being right. You don't have to be right all the time. Because it never once does Jesus tell us, hey, go out, make disciples, and be right all of the time. He doesn't tell us that. He says, go out, love your neighbor, love your enemies, love, 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 love. Never once does it say, oh, go out, be right all the time. Don't do anything until you're right. Is that how it works, guys? Is that how it works? You know, kind of one of these rules that you have when you work in retail, and it's not a rule written anyways, but I worked in retail for a long time, is that you don't hire one of your buddy's employees. You know, you don't go out, it's not written down any place, it's just kind of one of those things, because you get in the management, you talk with other people, and you know who's good in their store and who's bad. But you don't go in and go, hey, I'm going to hire this good person. I need a person, so I'm going to go take your good one. And I had an opportunity when I was working at, just recently at Goldsmith in Walnut Creek, and I was like, you know what? As I was working there, I go, I needed a person. I needed somebody. I was like, I need this person now. I got to get him. So I started making phone calls, and we found a person that was going to be a good fit, but they worked for a friend of mine. So I called him up, and I said, hey, I need this person. And if I don't hear back from you within 2 weeks, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger and hire that person. Well, 2 weeks goes by. So we start the background check process, and the background check comes back, and the fourth week comes by, and we make the offer. Bring the guy in. He comes in. He starts. The day he starts, I get a phone call. What's this? You took my best person? Dude, I called you a month ago. You didn't call me. Yes, I did. Well, you didn't get in touch with me. Did you talk to me? And I go, nope, sure didn't. I left you a message. And sometimes things get lost. And the whole point of that is that sometimes we do things and not really understand that I left a message. They got it. They'll call me back. Guys, that's not how it always works. Sometimes misunderstandings happen from voicemails. Or sometimes misunderstandings happen because of these anonymous Facebook postings. I hate you. Send. I bet you think that was about you. Well, maybe. You said you hate me. I mean, is that about... Guys, but that's how it is, guys. That's how we are. The messages we get lost in sometimes. And him and I had a great conversation, and I said, dude, I'm sorry. It will never happen again. It will never be a problem. In fact, I'll fire him right now. I said, he can come right back. And we talked, and we moved on. And him and I are still friends. We don't talk a lot now because I'm in a complete different career field than what he is, but we're still friends. And we worked it out, but we talked through the discussion. We talked through the misunderstanding, and we talked through the message. We were able to figure it out. And sometimes you have to get together with other people in order to be able to do that. Guys, what we fail to do is we fail to get together. We get this misunderstanding, and we're like, ooh, I hate you. I'm never calling you again. Instead of going, I'm going to pick up the phone, and let's get through this. Instead of, hey, let's talk, and let's figure out what's really wrong, and let's figure out why this happened. Instead of going, that happened, and I hate you now. Or that happened, and I don't ever want to talk to you now. Or that happened, and I'm so tired of just, it was on top of all the other stuff that you brought into our relationship. It needs to go away, and I'm done dealing with you. Sometimes those relationships, we have to go back in, and we need to restore, and we need to bring them back, and we need to turn them into healthy relationships. How do we do that? So, one of these things that we're going to talk about how to apologize with some integrity. Because there is a right way and a wrong way to apologize. If you ever walk in and you go, I'm sorry your feelings got hurt. Why? Why are my feelings hurt? I don't know. I'm just sorry they are hurt. That's wrong. You know, I didn't do anything to hurt you, but I'm sorry anyway. No, that's wrong too. Or, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's another one. Number one, admit to specific actions and attitudes. Admit to what you did. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I shouldn't have assumed. Sorry, I didn't call you. Admit to the specific action. You know, I mean, it happens. My wife calls me at like 11:30 some nights when I'm here at the church, and she goes, what are you doing? I'm at the church. Why didn't you call? I'm sorry, I didn't call. Admit to what you're doing. Admit to whatever it is. Whatever the action is, admit to that specific thing. I'm sorry I ignored your feelings. Whatever it was. Guys, you have to do it. Admit to what you did, not what you didn't do. So, because guys, sometimes we admit to things, and we're like, I didn't do that. But I'm going to make this all go away, and I'm just going to say I did it. Just to put an end to it. That's wrong too. Admit to what you do. Specific things, guys. Don't just be like, oh, I did everything. Don't make excuses. Number two, do not make excuses. It's a tough one. But if you get caught watching porn, don't make excuses. Don't come out and be like, well, if you were giving it to me more often. No. No, no, do not. Future reference, these two are not allowed to sit up front ever again. Ever. I spent money because you didn't pay attention to me. No. You spent money because you wanted something. You wanted some new stuff. That's why you spent money. It wasn't because I didn't pay attention to you. Jeff came up here to get part of the laughs. It's great. Guys, I want you guys to know something is that my daughter, that's sitting in the back now, although she's 15, she was once smaller, and when she was smaller, I remember having a conversation with her, and she comes to me and she goes, Daddy, you were never at home. And I go, wait a minute here. I'm home all the time. You know, and I started thinking about it, and I started really trying to put it together, and in her perspective, I was never home. Because they go to school, and while you're at work or whatever, and they just don't ever see us. So when we look at excuses, we go, okay, I'm never home in her perspective. It's my excuse was, but I am here. I've got this. But I might have been home, but I was always doing stuff, or I was working on the computer, or I had this going on, or whatever it was. I was never really there for her. And so when I sat down with her years ago and I had this conversation, she goes, Daddy, I just want you to play with me. I just want you to read with me. I just want you to read a book. I just want you to spend time with me. But guys, we get so caught up in doing everything else at home. We got these iPads, and we got these iPhones, and we got all this other stuff that it takes so much attention away from our children. And really all they just want to do is just go, can you play with me? Will you throw me? And I don't even care if you drop me every once in a while. Just throw me. Just have fun with me. Accept the consequences. Number 3. Guys, I'm going to tell you, if you go out and you gossip about me, I'm going to be slow to trust you. Okay? Very simple. It's the same thing that we do with everybody else. When we gossip, just know. The people that you talk to, they're going to be slow to trust you again. You broke it. If you're 17 years old and you drove home drunk and your parents took your car from you, guess what? You had that coming. You were a dumb 17-year-old, and you should have had your car taken. In fact, we should go deliver you to the police station. If you had an affair while you were out of town and your wife comes to you and goes, I don't want you traveling anymore, then guess what? You're going to change your job. Accept the consequences. Because if she's willing to forgive you, then it's time for you to quit the job that you have and to accept the consequences and find a new one. Number 4, change your behavior. Guys, you can't come in and go, why are you doing this? I'm sorry I yelled at you. But why are you doing this? You can't yell and then go, I'm sorry for yelling, and then do some more yelling. Doesn't work. You can't go, hey, I'm sorry I haven't been home much lately, and then travel more. I'm sorry that things, guys, change your behavior. Change what's going on. It's got to be different now. What is it that is stopping you from doing what needs to change in order to make your relationship better? Guys, if you yell a lot, then think about what you're going to say before you drop it. Guys, that's going to sound kind of contrary over here, but I watched the show. Anybody in here watch The Big Bang Theory? Okay, I don't really believe in The Big Bang Theory, but the show is entertaining. And as I was watching it this week, as one of the lead actors comes in the door and he says something, the other guy goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then he responds. Because sometimes we need to count before we respond and say something that we shouldn't say, or we shouldn't fly off our handle. We might need to take a second, whether it's 1 or 5 seconds, and take a second to respond. Guys, sometimes we just say something, and you're like, where did that come from? What was that? We just need to take a second and think about it. Or, I didn't invite you to come out with us. I didn't think about it. That's worse to say to somebody. I didn't think about you. That's why I didn't invite you. Change your behavior. Number 5. This is hard, guys. Ask for forgiveness. Now, guys, a lot of times you don't get some of these stories from my past where I go, I go deep into my childhood. But let me tell you is that I was raised and my mom was single, and she kind of ran through guys, so there was different guys coming in and out of our house on a regular basis. And my mom was a full-fledged alcoholic. And, she was home off work, she was drinking. Before my mom went to work, my mom worked for the post office for 28 years, and she worked overnights, and before my mom would be getting ready for work, and she'd be drinking a Budweiser, sitting on the bathroom counter, getting ready to go to work. It took alcohol to make it to where she could function. And for me, my relationship became, I felt abused all the time. As a young child, I remember being 12, 13 years old. There was times, well, the first thing my mom would ask me on a Saturday morning or something like that, she would, when she was getting up, she'd be like, "Go get me a beer," and I felt like an indentured servant in my house. I felt like a slave. And sometimes I would go downstairs and I'd get into the kitchen, I'd be looking there and I'm going, "Why am I here? What is this about?" And I really felt lonely as a child, even though I had lots of friends and I had lots of things going on. But I felt just abused and lonely. I had this. My mom worked overnight. There was nobody at my house, so from the age of about 12 on, I was at home all the time. I had to cook for myself and clean and all those things and get myself ready for school in the morning. And I felt lonely. And years and years and years and years, and it turned into a big animosity towards my mom. I didn't look at it as that she was trying to provide for me. I looked at it as she didn't even care about me. I just looked at it and she doesn't care if I'm home alone. She doesn't care what I do. And I felt very, it was just like one of those things. I go, what am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to take care of this? And I just felt alone. And it took me a long time. It took years and years and years for me to go to my mom and really apologize to her for the animosity and the anger I had towards her. I went to her and I just said, "I am sorry." And and this is and it took me a long time to get to that point where I could grow up and I could feel that way. And I go, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I feel this way. And I know that the way that you are right now is not what you do by choice. I just feel that I'm sorry. And she was like, "Great, now I'll get to doing some stuff for me." And it took her years and years later. It wasn't until my daughter was probably 6 or 7 years old where she came and she told me, she's all, "Mike, I am really sorry, and I am really, and I understand now what you're talking about because I wasn't a great father to my daughter when she was first born, and my mom still thought that I was there so much more than she was ever there for me." And so she recognized that and was able to come and apologize to me. And it was really one of these great experiences where her and I were able to form a relationship. Because prior to that, I wanted nothing to do with her. I wanted to be completely gone. I was like, please, there was such a deep divide. And I will tell you is that now that divide is starting to increase because, we've moved my mother in with us. So, if you've ever had your in-laws living with you, you wish for nothing sooner than to move them out. But my mom lives with me, and it's frustrating. But and so and it's just because it's like have a mom at home again. I mean, it's like I might as well be 8 years old. Is how sometimes. Where are you going? Are you really asking me where I'm going? This is my house. Don't you remember? And so it's But guys, I will tell you is that it is. I feel 2 years ago we got the scare that my mom had lung cancer. And we didn't know if it was going to be her last Thanksgiving. We didn't know it was going to be her last Christmas. And so we had that opportunity to be able to at least know that we were on good terms and we were having a relationship again. And she beat cancer that time, but now she's struggling through it again. And she has lung cancer again. And it's like you deal with it, and you go. The doctors go, "Well, we can only get 60% of it." And so, as my mom is fighting through this, and as she's going through these turmoils, and she's going through these different issues, at least, although our relationship isn't great, at least we know that there's forgiveness, and that we can talk, and that we can get through things, and we can kind of move forward and be able to have a relationship. Guys, there would be nothing worse than to lose somebody that is important to you, that's a critical component in our life because we're not willing to go in and just go, "I'm sorry." I know, the pain is yesterday. It's the past. Because I'm not saying we're ever going to make it up. Because we're not. But the rule lies. There's a simple saying out there, and it says, once you break a bone, it's strongest where it heals again. When you break a bone, it is strongest where it heals again. Guys, when relationships are broken, when they are healed, they become strongest. Guys, we have things that we can get through, even though we look at it and we go, "Oh, it's broken." No, we can get through it. We just have to be willing to come in and go, "You know what? You forgave me, and so I'm willing to forgive you." As we have this opportunity where Jesus came and he dies for us. We're going to celebrate it at the end of the month. so we can have this relationship. We're a world full of sinners. But yet, He's willing to forgive us, and God's willing to forgive us over and over and over again. The least we can do is be willing to forgive our neighbor and to be able to love and to be able to forgive those that are important to us, that have had, when you think about it, you go, oh, it was the person that was there when I was born that day. Maybe I should forgive them. As there's things that we should be looking at and going, I can say I'm sorry. That doesn't mean you have to forget what they did. But we can forgive them, and let's start moving forward with a new relationship. Start establishing new trust, or start establishing new memories. They don't have to be bad. We can have good memories even through bad stuff. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us relationships, and thank you so much for giving us for hurts. And thank you so much for these just different relationships that we're going to seek restoration in. God, as we walk away and we look to go and say sorry to somebody today, or maybe this week, or maybe as we're looking to invite somebody to something that we're doing, it's like, God, let's be just willing to say, I am sorry for whatever I've done. Let's accept what we have done. Let's be willing to go, you know what, I want our friendship to be better. I want our relationship to be better. I want my marriage to be better. I want my relationship with God to be better. Let us put down these burdens. Let us put down this anger, whatever is stopping us from having a true relationship with you. Give us the courage to move forward. Give us the strength to move on. Give us this chance to make amends. And all this we pray in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.